Okay, I believe I can see it.
Okay, that is good to know. It looks like it's working. Oh yeah, I can see you. Hello. You're gonna need a new name, fam.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mulgoth is taken.
What about Super Morgoth?
Sounds like a Digimon name.
Yeah. Alright. Can you deafen on, oh, well, mute on Discord rather, and just do a sound test of the stream for me? So let me know if you can hear the music. Can you hear the music? You can barely hear me. Okay. How do we fix that? Let's see. Okay. So how is the Discord volume in comparison to the stream volume? So the Discord volume sign? Like you can still hear me
Yes,
fine?
Discord volume, your normal volume in the stream. Oh shit, I can hear.
Well, I did need you to confirm how loudly you can hear yourself as well. So how clear
I
is
sound
the?
like as
Can
loud
you?
as you are in Discord.
Okay, so you sound as loud as me on Discord, but you sound. I sound a lot quieter through this room. Okay. Oh, we got Rara. Hello, Rara. Rara might not even be able to hear me because of how quiet I am. Okay. I need to remember how to fix the volume output of my audio. Because I edited one of the volume settings, which basically stops me from spiking the mic, basically. But I don't remember which settings we go to for actual volume level. Day had to go to sleep at the worst time.
Apparently, Aurora can hear you just fine.
Okay. He hears both of us pretty well. Interesting. Maybe it's a maybe it's your setting, Chloe. Is your Twitch
I'm on
volume?
PC.
Is your... Okay, you're definitely louder. Okay. Interesting. Only 20% louder though? Yeah. I think there was a way to make the Discord volume the same as my personal volume, but I forgot what it was.
Because my Twitch volume is on max right now.
Yeah, and it's basically what it's doing. It isn't picking my mic audio up from Discord. It's picking up from the mic directly. So Discord settings aren't going to affect my volume, but it's going to affect you. So let's see what else I can do. how's this? Is this louder? Is this better?
It's a bit louder, but still not as loud as me when I hear myself talking on the stream.
How about now? Is that a good volume?
Better?
Better? Okay, because I can't increase it any higher by that method. And that pretty much... Okay, we sound pretty even now? Okay. I might have to fine-tune some audio stuff with Day later, because basically, even though that maybe fix the sound volume discrepancy, it's also really close to like peaking the mic and stuff.
Plus,
So
if you have anyone else on the stream, since I talk really quiet, they're gonna sound really loud.
Yeah, yeah. That's true as well. Okay, let me just DM Dave real quick and I'll leave her a cute little message to say, hey mummy Day, whenever you're free one day, let me know if you're happy to recalibrate some stream audio one more time.
Did you actually write that first part?
Yes. All my settings got reset from my old laptop dying. Cool. And I'll sort that out with her later. Alright, I still haven't gotten any, like, confirmation if you guys can hear the music in the background or not. Or if you can, how loud it is.
That would be a no for me.
Okay, Roa, can you hear any music? Pretty quiet? Okay, let me see. Yeah, I see it's barely peaking there. So let me see if I can turn it up in my background.
Aha. Now I can hear it.
Okay. How loud is that for you guys? Because it is very loud for me.
I can barely hear it on the computer.
How about now?
Until it gets like the loud parts. Ah, there we go. Now it's like the relaxing background music level.
Yeah, is that a good volume there?
Mm-hmm. How's it on the phone, Roro?
Yeah, it's a good level. Okay, because that's pretty loud for me. So that might be another thing I have to calibrate with Day.
Are you able to turn it down on your end, as in your own PC volume?
The thing is, if I turn it down on like the PC level, that's what's making it a bit too quiet for you guys. Because basically, the ideal. Let me see. Okay, how's that? I think that's the best or the closest I'm really going to get it to a stable level for me. Is it still like relaxing?
Let me send you on Discord for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
On my end, I can barely hear it.
Okay, you can barely hear it.
But on the phone, it seems to be working fine.
Okay.
For Rara.
I'll keep it slightly louder then. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I can fine tune the audio later today. Alright, now I'm going to briefly turn on my webcam. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it on, but you guys can tell me how it looks. Hello. How are you?
Interesting angle.
Well,
Wait, where's the webcam on your...
It's on my laptop. And basically, since I'm at a kitchen table in a dining room, I don't really have a lot to work with in terms of setup or positioning and lighting. So it's going to be pretty awkward no matter what I do. So I could do webcam less for a while. But how's the
It
image?
is so weird seeing the delay in your voice in Discord, and then your person leaving in the
Well,
thing.
deafen on Discord, and let's see how it works out. You don't see anything? Interesting. Try refresh if you can, Rara. Pure black. Rara, can you not even see Maldoniya or anything? So like, is the entire screen black or is just the webcam area black for you? Can you take a screenshot for me actually, Rara? Okay. It might be a mobile thing, I'm not sure. Let me turn it off. And now that I've turned it back off, let me know if you can see again now. Black the whole time. Okay. Let me bring it up on mobile as well, and I'll see how it looks for me. Oh, complete darkness, yeah. Let's see. Is there a Twitch app? I might see if I can bring it up on phone. Yeah, are you watching on the mobile app or browser on the mobile? Okay, you're on the app. Chloe, do you want to see if you can look it up on your phone? Okay, thank you, buddy. Oh, hey, Simeon buddy, how you doing? Basically, just doing, seeing if you guys can actually see what's on the screen or not. You can't see squat? Okay. For some reason, Chloe can see on PC, but you guys can't see on mobile. Okay. Okay, you can see on PC. Okay, I'm gonna try log in on mobile too. Okay, yeah, that's good. I don't have the webcam on right now, so you won't see that. Let me see. I'm just logging in on mobile, so bear with me a moment here. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I can't see it on mobile either. The preview loads, but yeah, when you actually load the stream, nothing's there. I wonder if that's because of the software being used. Okay, let me see if I can look something up for this.
Am I allowed to join the VC?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, you can.
Of course not. How dare you?
I've got you on my phone, but
Yeah, are you using the phone app as well?
indubitably.
Can one of you
And
guys...
yeah, the same exact problem.
Hmm. Can you guys try it from just like browser in your mobile rather than the app?
That's what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
no worries.
The same thing as the app.
Okay. Interesting. So it's working on PC but not mobile. Why is that? Well, while you're at
Sure.
it,
Did you want
let me see. So, okay. Can you guys try the YouTube as well? And see if that one's black screening or whatever as well, whether it be via PC or mobile browser or mobile app.
You're streaming
use
on
my phone.
YouTube too?
Yes. You should be able to get
Okay.
the link in hashtag stuff in the Discord.
Just mute the other stream quick. On the PC, I can see it. The same.
I'm being
as we
slow.
did.
But I will be using my phone to test it. So sorry, where's the damn link?
It uses my actual name in the YouTube one.
It's just in hashtag stuff.
There it is, cool. Boom, YouTube, boom, visit site.
Okay.
Subscribe, of course.
So Chloe, are you on PC, mobile app, or mobile browser for YouTube?
On the YouTube, I'm on the PC. For the Twitch, I've got one open on the PC and the mobile browser.
Okay, so YouTube on PC looks fine.
Yes, it looks the same as the Twitch one for me.
Okay, who wants to try the mobile version?
I'm already on there, and I can see.
Okay, so you can see things fine on YouTube mobile.
Yes.
Is that the app
So
or
it's like
browser?
specifically Twitch. I'm using the app.
Okay. Interesting. And can one of you do browser for me quickly as well, if that's okay?
Browser on
Yeah.
your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Check.
Okay. It's weird doing it on the phone because it'll like try and auto open the YouTube app, but I can make it work. Boom. Yes, I can see it on the mobile app
On the mobile
through the
too.
browser.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's literally just streaming to the mobile on Twitch for whatever reason. Okay, that is weird. I guess in the short term, if it ever becomes an issue, people can go to fucking YouTube instead, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a more Twitch-centric community, so it's something I'm gonna have to fucking troubleshoot at some point, but maybe I'll deal with that after stream. Well, apart from that, I mostly kind of just need to finish balancing audio with audio testing. But in the meantime, since you're here, did you want to discuss the character stuff now for you, or?
Is that okay? This is kind of all dealing with my stuff.
I am personally fine with it if you're comfortable with Chloe listening. And Chloe, if you'd like, you can also tell Simeon about your cool shit that's happening as well. It's up to you guys.
I would love to hear about that.
Please, I will do it after Simeon does this.
Okay, then let's nerd out for a bit. Let's go, Simeon.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of ask my questions without explaining much, but I'll probably explain more because it's fun.
Yes.
But the big thing is, I have a shit ton of gold and not a lot of reason to use it anymore. Not the same one that I did.
Yes.
I would like to commission a large two-handed morning star with reach.
Okay. So, interesting. The reach part is I don't know if they really do, like, historically ever, like, a two-handed Morningstar with the reach. I'm wondering if you want to... Is it the spiked ball weapon, specifically, that you're interested in?
Yeah, that's kind of the gist. I want to do some sort of piercing or slashing damage, and I do like the idea of it being a giant spiked ball. I think that's what I'm looking for.
I have an interesting idea in that case. So you said both like slashing and piercing potentially?
Whichever works best. The big one, I would like reach. That's kind of that's the hope, but like I can totally see whatever you want to do.
What if we do both, all of it, in one, but with a different weapon style? So I'm thinking, you know those ball and chain sickles?
Oh, yeah.
What if we do something like that, and the ball end can be a morning star, and the other end can be the sickle or whatever you want?
Yeah. That would be
dark.
That would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Also, I had I know I have limitations on just how much I can speak at this point.
It's up to you. You have my permission to share however much you're comfortable with sharing. But yeah, Rara, come to the VC with us.
But no, not even that. More so, like, Simeon himself can't really speak a lot anymore, right? Given these circumstances.
Currently, yes, since he's, like, unconscious and everything, definitely.
once he does regain conscious, even at my stunted way, I shan't be able to speak a lot, but I would like to say one sentence and like give Cherry a bunch of money because she used the health potion on me, and I feel bad that I like fucking ruined it.
For his services.
Quite literally.
Yeah, go on.
But yeah, I wanted to be real nice, so I'll kind of I'll spill the beans because it's more fun now. But Simeon got hit with feeble mind.
Oh no.
So the initial ruling was for a month I would be at 1 intelligence and 1 charisma. But Farron and I got to talking, and I thought it would be way more fun if the intelligence nerf was permanent. Simeon now has a permanent intelligence of 3, and there's something I'd like to add to that eventually. A whole cool little lore bit. But yeah, he is now going to speak in third person, like a big dum-dum. And instead of being super convoluted and paranoid, thinking about plots that everybody, he's a big idiot now. So he's just going to be nice. He's just going to be nice to everybody. Simeon's going to be awesome. But one of the things I wanted to do, right? Simeon lives in basically a library, right? His room is just covered in books.
Yeah.
Well, I have an intelligence of 3 right now. That's a near animal state. So I'm going to have a big dramatic moment of trying to read my books, like my Lusty Argonian Maid and my whatnot, and not be able to. And freak the fuck out.
Conveniently for Simeon, there may or may not be a picture book version of that book out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, I think we actually did discuss that too.
Yeah,
but
maybe
what I
that's
wanted
going to be
do,
Simeon's new mission. He'll remember the Lusty Argonian Maid, and he's going to search out
draw it himself.
Or search for a picture book version.
So
or reenact it.
I got a ticket to the font of knowledge, right?
Yes.
That is now utterly worthless to me because I can't even read. Yes. What my plan was to beg Vexmir to teach me how to read again in trade for the ticket to the Font of Knowledge, so I can read my Lusty Argonian Maid again, and eventually, after a bunch of plot shit and whatnot, I would like to get 1 more intelligence point to signify that I can read. And that's it. No more intelligence ever. Nothing like that. I'm still going to speak in third person, and I want to put it as, like, gradually, I, like, will only speak in just a couple words, always usually starting with Simeon. Simeon knows, this is good, but then eventually I'd like to be able to fully form structured sentences, and especially for the first little bit, I'd like to not say shit, and then give Cherry some money and, like, apologize for being a goober.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds like a good plan, but, I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware that Simeon was technically mainly a wizard before, but,
oh yeah, I'm a bit different now.
Yeah, so, basically, because of his character changes, and basically how he was building his character wasn't really in line with what his class actually was. So we've basically restructured his classes as well. So he's no longer a warlock or a wizard. He is 2 other completely different classes.
Are we losing magic dealer?
Not at all, actually. I am now a sorcerer and a barbarian.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna kind of harness my dragon magic and become the ancient dragon man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Live that dragon life.
And Cherry's also already spoiled, but she's made her subclass a draconic bloodline sorcerer as well.
Aw.
No,
I should
we got
bet.
homies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much dragon power, wow.
Yeah. In the meantime, Vin, would you like to share what's happening with you?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yes.
Frank and
So,
Vin.
kind of. So, upon the fall, all of Vin's bones shattered.
Oh god.
So, he's being taken away. I believe it's to the Temple of God. And
Okay,
he's gonna
yeah,
get
Nerd
his
Palace.
whole body restructured to become kind of, what would you call it? Construct? Mechanical?
I'd
Like
call it
cyborg.
like a cyborg, yeah.
Except he's,
Swopa!
other than his vital organs and his head, it's all made of mechanical stuff.
Oh, that's gonna be dope. You got any tricks now or something? What you got going on?
Yes. Okay, so each hand can contain a different weapon with like a slightly special effect in a way. Like in one, I can put a net and shoot out the net from the palm of my hand
Oh, dope.
and and grapple or pull things to me or pull myself to other things. Or I could do that with a whip instead. / grappling hook kind of thing.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I have like a crossbow or a pistol.
Oh,
So
dope.
I get a free gun. And what I've done with this, since I also gained some new spells upon my level up, Vin has never really used any elemental spells. So I'm gonna say that Vin can't use elemental spells, and instead he makes elemental bullets.
Perfect.
And you can
Perfect.
shoot those. So I've got what? I think I've got an acid bullet, frost bullet, thunder bullet, lightning bullet?
Pretty much whatever
Pretty
kind
much
of
a lot of
bullet you
things
want,
except
but,
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dandy.
because Vin was in a kind of similar awkward halfway point as Simeon in terms of like identity and class progression. Because Vin was
sure.
an artificer and a fighter, but apart from like tinkering on occasion, they could only really just like shoot their crossbow, basically. So this is a way for them to kind of lean more into the artificer archetype, becoming a bit more mechanical in the process, becoming a more unique character as well. In addition, becoming more useful and everything overall.
I mean,
Super
I was still
utility.
useful before because I had some kind of utility with the items that I picked up.
For
But now
sure.
there's more choices, I want to
But-
say.
And they're just
Oh.
kind of more at will too. You can just kind of with anything at this
yeah.
point.
So one of the
Vin?
things we can do, Vin, is like with your right hand, how we're gonna have like the equipment sets for you and whatnot, like swap out pieces or whatever,
Yeah.
is we can give you some kind of cannon that lets you shoot items out to a distance that you otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Ooh.
So like
Rocket launcher.
instead of like placing ball bearings at your feet, you can like shoot them further or whatever.
You can pull the
Yeah.
simian and just stuff a bag of caltrops in there and shoot somebody's face.
I do have caltrops.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
smuggled them
Genius.
into the opera.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
also, Vin can now switch between being a man or a woman with his 2 different armor sets.
Well, that's dope.
yeah,
Fun.
so I think what we'll do then is we'll give you like one armor set for being more masculine, and how we'll do the
Yep.
equipment sets is you'll have an equipment set for your masculine side, which is maybe more damage dealing oriented, and then maybe a different equipment set for your female side, and that can be more control oriented, or vice versa.
See, because my armor class comes with 2 armor sets,
Yes.
the Infiltrator and the Defender, something like that.
Yes.
I was gonna make my Infiltrator armor set. What was I gonna wait? Shit, which one was I gonna do for?
I could totally see, like, because Vin was already scrawny, skinny dude, Infiltrator said be scrawny, skinny dude. And then you have, like, buff MILF lady for the
Oh,
Defender
yeah.
set.
The Muscle Mommy.
Yeah,
Muscle
exactly.
mommy.
Perfect.
Whatever you
Love it.
like. Whatever you like. Alright,
Mix
well.
and match.
Oh,
the-
dude, I was like halfway there in my head too. I knew it.
Well, in the meantime, Avexi, I've been wanting to talk to you about your character as well.
Oh,
Ooh.
interesting. I actually had a little thing I wanted to talk to you about because druids are silly.
Yes. Well,
Um,
Vexmere is also silly, so tell me about your silly idea, you silly, silly boy.
So it's actually really simple. So at level 4, my wild shape upgrades, right?
Yes.
And normally I would gain the ability to become things that can swim.
Mhm.
But that's kind of redundant for this campaign, so I was going to petition to swap it around so that at level 8 I would lose the swim restriction, and at level 4 I would actually lose the flying restriction.
Sure, why not?
I mean, we already have party members who can fly.
Right, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's not
Yeah,
that crazy
it's not gonna
groundbreaking.
break, because again, we've got fucking Griffin cavalry in the sky above the city anyway, so...
Right. Cool,
Uh,
yay!
But yeah, no, how do you feel about Vex's class development as a character? What is it that you're wanting to achieve or accomplish with him? Are you trying to fill a more supportive role? Do you feel you have the tools necessary to achieve the role you're wanting to fulfill?
So, Vex is always intended to be kind of like the support healer, off DPS, jack of all trades. Like, he was never really intended to specialize in anything. He was just supposed to be a healer that could handle himself in a fight, you know?
Yes.
To that extension, I picked Shepherd because of all the animals, and that sounded really fun, and the summoning stuff sounded really, really cool. Just recently, I got the funding to be able to get the fucking reagents that I needed to be able to cast the spell. So once I can, you know, pop into a magic shop and spend that 200 gold
Yeah,
and start
I mean,
using that spell, I'll actually be doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. But like Vex has never felt like he's had too much of an issue up until the troll fight. But that was more because the pain of my AC was never really apparent because I kind of was able to hide. A lot of how Vexmere kind of operates in the fights, especially now that he has a scythe, is, you know, hide behind the big tanky dude so that I can take advantage of my reach / throw spells.
Okay. Well, I'd say the next arc, as you guys eventually come into Underbound, is going to be a lot more combat focused, which is something that neither group has had as much of an opportunity to do until now, just because of how we've been playing. So I think that's really going to be the biggest indicator as to how your class are working for you guys. But basically, what we've done is I feel like Kumi's growth as a character in combat has been fine. We've just revamped Vinny and Simeon. I've also worked with Kira to revamp how his character works slightly. I think Beak's fine in combat. Nanya is a bit of a question mark for her combat utility, but I feel like that's more so because she hasn't had as much of an opportunity to take advantage of her sneak attacks as she otherwise would. So if she has more opportunity to do those, she might be okay. But yeah, no, Undermountain is going to be a really big show and tell as to if you guys are working as you intend to be working as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth
Right,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, I've been kind of excited to have all 7 of us, there's 7 of us, right? But have like the whole party actually go and do a fight, like...
Together, because you
Yeah,
haven't had the
seems like
opportunity to do that yet.
Right, there's just, like, with Kuro and apparently now Simeon being a frontliner, Vin being a half frontliner, we have like 2 actual frontliners, 2 half frontliners, and then like a lot of back range damage, and it's like we have a really nice party setup in theory. I want to see how it works.
Yeah,
To take
and I feel Vex in particular is more of a team player, so having a larger team in a more prolonged situation will be interesting to see how he goes. Or is
Right.
I think Humi might actually end up struggling in Underbound the most, just because she's very spell dependent right now.
very
Right,
boosted.
but so is Vex to a large degree. Like
Yeah.
any kind of major control or utility has to take a spell slot, and you know, being the only healer, if we take any major hits, I have to spend
Ah.
individual spell slots
So
healing, or we
that's
gotta burn potions, and it's a lot of econ stuff.
that's where Vin kind of helps because he can provide the non-spell utility. And then with my level up, I also decided to take a healing skill, which I'm just gonna call Healing Bullet.
Ooh, that would be
So
so
I can help a
handy.
little bit with the healing as well.
Just shoot
my
people to heal
God.
them.
Hmm.
Yeah, then
I
you're
love that.
basically you've got like an evoker from Persona 3. You're just gonna shoot yourself in the head, and magic's gonna happen.
Fun.
But yeah, no, I'm really excited for what's to come. And just real quick, while I got you guys with me as well, when I do eventually set up my own system and whatnot as well, I might even look into doing a podcast if that's something you guys would be interested in contributing to.
Ooh.
Oh, that sounds fun.
That does sound fun,
That
yeah.
sounds
Like-
interesting.
Nerd out and talk after sessions or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss things like what we're discussing now.
Indubitably.
But yeah.
How do you say this?
Oh,
I'm
I did change
currently-
my cantrips around. I gained a cantrip, but I also, I took out the poison spray or whatever it's called, and I took infestation.
Ooh.
Nice. Well, we'll see how
Yeah.
those work out for you.
It feels more Vexmiri. It's
Yeah, for
bug
sure.
attack.
Well, is there anything else D&D related you guys want to go over for now?
The main thing is I am just gonna homebrew the weapon up.
Yes,
What
so,
range do you think would be cool for that?
I would say I'd say draft something that you find comfortable first, something you think you'll enjoy, and send it to me. And if I feel it needs balancing, then we can worry about balancing it from there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll send you two. I'll send you a Kyotsuku. Hold on.
You can get that.
Kyokushu Shogi. That's what it
Yes.
is. Say it again. Kyokushu Shogi.
I've been hearing that voice. I've been hearing that voice in the background, and I've been wondering what it was, but now I understand.
I'm trying to figure out how to say it. It's
Yeah.
the proper Japanese name for the kunai with chain with a other thing at the end. Usually it's a chakram.
Vomit or chak? Was it a chak?
Yeah.
But it depends. Sometimes it's just a weight, and then it's a sickle at the other end because there's the sickle with chain too. Well, I'll be looking through a few things and see what I want to try and make it as. But I also
No,
want
that sounds
to
good.
try and form a two-handed big ass mace. It might just be a hammer or a giant mace and some a great club, but a little cooler. I'll see about drafting that up.
That sounds good. And yeah, you can send through whatever you'd like when you are ready. So, aside from that, anything else from
Alright.
anyone else?
I believe that's it for me. D&D wise.
Nice. Okay, nothing else for Vexy?
Yeah, no, especially now that I've moved the stats around, the only thing that I really was interested in changing was the wild shape thing. Vex being able to fly is just handy.
Yeah, no, it feels very fitting for him as well, honestly, because he has all his birdie
Right.
friends.
All my bird
Exactly.
friends, and then Beak can fly, and I can be his flying buddy.
Yeah. Well,
Replaces familiar. Pull a hacks Billy Billy.
Pretends to be his familiar for a little while.
Yes.
yeah. I mean, that's technically what Kumi's kind of been doing as well. Like,
Like
as far
Loki.
as the official city guard are concerned, she is a familiar or something.
Interesting. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
something.
no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Alright, well, in that case, since we're here, I might as well, like, actually start some proper world building if you guys want to chill and vibe while I do it.
For sure. Yeah, I'm off work now. I'm just cruising.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
have to work in a little bit, but I'm here for while I'm here.
no worries, buddy. So, I think, I've already, like, briefly clued you guys into a few things of what I kind of want to do with this little project, but essentially what I intend on doing is basically making 3 different worldviews. So one is going to be like old-timey fantasy, elves, dwarves, orcs, swords, shields, magic, all that kind of cool shit. With all
For
like
sure.
all the beasts, all the monsters, maybe even have some kind of prehistoric area with dinos and shit. But the world itself is going to take a lot of inspiration from modern world cultures and mythos and legends, things like that. So basically it's going to be one planet with a series of continents. So I know for sure I want to have at least 5. A northern continent, which is mostly inspired by Scandinavia and the Norse mythos. An eastern continent, which is largely based on Asia, in particular probably looking at India, China, Japan, South Korea, maybe a bit of Vietnamese kind of folklore, mythos, legends, that kind of stuff there. A southern continent, which will be mostly South American based, and maybe some Australasian influence as well from some of the more Southeast Asian islands and indigenous Australian folklore as well. And that'll be
Yeah.
like a very volcanic region, as well as the jungles, maybe a bit of a tropical climate, things like that. There'll be and then the other 2 continents I've kind of fleshed out a bit less in my head. Not that there isn't like something I have in mind for it, but there's so much I want to do for those 2 in particular that I might even have to separate them into 2 other separate continents in and of themselves between each other, if that makes sense.
That does.
So the central continent will be like ancient Greece, ancient Rome, medieval Europe, excluding the Scandinavian region, if that makes sense. So that might be like a large continent, maybe with some outlying islands or archipelagos with their own countries or nations or whatever, stuff like that. Eastern continent might have some Mongolia too. And then the Western continent is where I'm more divided on. Because basically I want to have it to be a lot of North American inspiration, as well as maybe the African continent inspiration as well. But that is a lot to pack into one kind of area. So one of the areas I want for sure is more of a steampunky, steam and rail, old school cowboy, maybe some pirating as well, whether it be sea pirates or sky pirates with flying ships. So that'll be kind of its own thing, but I don't think that itself is going to be large enough to be a continent. So I'm thinking maybe that'll be like a series of islands or whatever away from the continent itself, and then the bulk of the continent will be like a lot of savanna, a lot of desert, a lot of like Egypt inspiration, as well as African cultures of various degrees as well.
Yeah, you could totally even mix in like the Grand Canyon and like the entirety of Nevada and just the Dust Bowl there.
Yeah. So it's kind of like half and half, because maybe I can make it similar to North and South America, like two halves of what would appear to be like a single continent or something, or yeah, but it could even be like just smaller encampments of like the pirating / steampunk civilization, like setting up different camps all around the coast of this continent and like moving inland to find more resources or whatever.
See, I do actually really like that, because you could very easily do the whole like pilgrims and natives kind of scenario where you have a lot of the indigenous folk are on the mainland and they have their own tribes and nations and stuff, and then like there's the small archipelago that the cool steampunk people have taken over and are trying to encroach on the rest.
Yeah. So that's basically the main kind of gist of it, but that even only really takes in human civilizations and inspirations into account for the most part, because there's still going to be like all these other fantasy ass races out there in between it all as well. So it'll be a bit of an interesting mix. But yeah, so it's pretty much trying to have a little bit of everything outside of like space exploration and future tech and modern day stuff, pretty much.
Yeah, I played this one game called Tome, The Tales of Majayal.
Yes.
It's like a roguelike thing. Pretty good. But they had a expansion that was kind of based around a steampunky universe and had a really interesting way of where it was basically you wore a backpack that was generating the steam, and you had the steam pistols, and those were just shooting hot air, but it was enough to do damage. And
that sounds
like
cool.
I can totally see things working around that. You could almost even make it look modern to some of the more modern adjacent folk, whilst still keeping it within the system, you know?
For sure. But yeah, no, the technology itself will be like a lot of like manual loaded like bullets, no like automatics or anything. Like
For sure.
think old school revolvers and shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and even though those are going to be like overall the 5 major content landmasses, I also want to have like some underwater areas, some underground areas, maybe some sky island shit as well, and got a few ideas in mind for the different cultures and whatnot that might be found there, and the different races too.
I could see that working really well. Create a whole like external thing. It adds like a sense of exploration to things. Like, you know what the whole map is, but you don't. You know what I mean?
For sure. Because I think I briefly mentioned, so since we're basically planning to use this world, or this worldview, as the basis for a TTRPG system, it's going to be designed in tandem with the system, essentially, to have like appropriately leveled areas within each kind of culture, so people can pretty much pick and choose what they like to exploring the kind of culture that they're most interested in experiencing the story of as they kind of progress and level through there. But yeah, and the other worldviews are gonna mostly be the kind of modern day hero slash villain, AI, cyborgs, that kind of tech stuff as well.
Like, give me an AI girlfriend.
Correct.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And that's probably gonna
That could actually be taking like a huge toll on everybody, or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that one might have a lot of supernatural elements as well. So werewolves and vampires, stuff like that doesn't feel fantasy to me because werewolves being lycanthropes, there's a lot of like, if you want to have like bestial races like foxmen or wolfmen or whatever, werewolves become their own separate weird thing that aren't really quite part of either kind of grouping, and it just doesn't come off as right to me. It's the same with vampires, because like they're these magnanimous, fabulous, fantabulous undead creatures with all these powers and whatnot, but they kind of feel a bit more alive than dead, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
So-
your worlds gonna overlap at all?
uh
Like, are you able to travel between said worlds, or are they completely separate?
I am considering having an isekai feature, maybe.
Isekai?
Yes. So you could be like a third level steampunk Old West cowboy who finds himself transported through space and time into modern future world where he's fighting a vampire for some reason.
Hell yeah. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, man.
yeah.
Really a lot of JoJo.
Yeah.
Eventually, it kind of, you don't even know, man. Steel Ball Run is weird.
Yeah. And outside of that, there's also going to be like the super far future one, and that's basically going to be like aliens and space is being consumed by some kind of cosmic terror or whatever.
Yeah, the 40k version.
Yeah. So think of the fantasy version of Pathfinder, and then the future one as Starfinder. And yeah, there's the mid in between point, which is more like cyberpunk style.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, so that's the ultimate goal. But as you can probably tell, it's a massive project, a lot of work. It's probably going to be like a lifetime project kind of thing for me, basically. Like, it's basically since it's going to be so huge and since it's going to have everything, there's no real need or want for me to do anything else, basically. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So it's probably gonna take like at least a decade before it's even like close to even being considered finished. But no, it's something I really want to do and have a lot of passion for, so I really want to make it work.
No, I'm here for it, man. This has been very cool to even be in the proximity of, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys have experienced a bit of my world building and DMing, so I hope you have a appreciation for what I can potentially do with this project.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, with that said, let's fucking get into it. So, I've already done a few draft versions of playing around with this project at various points, and I always find myself starting at the northern continent. Just the Scandinavian region and the North Mythos themselves has always been of great fascination to me, for sure. So what we're going to do is just take down some notes of what we kind of want to have in this northern region. So we're going to have Scandinavian culture, Norse mythos, feudal coastlines, Scandinavian climate as well. So we're gonna have like Vikings, shield maidens, dragon slayers, berserkers, hunters, a lot of things like that are gonna be.
Did you already get Valkyries?
No, I'll add those in. Thank you.
Ravens are real important.
Yeah, so the beasts themselves, there's a lot of like ravens, wolves, serpents, boars. There's a lot of those in here. What I'll do with the specifics of like coming up with the proper animals and shit is look up on. I'll do like some research here and there to bring up like a full list of animals and shit, but basically what I want to do is I don't necessarily just want to have regular animals or flora or minerals and shit either. So what we're doing is basically creating an entirely different planet. So there'll be a lot of inspiration from pre-existing things, but for example, if we have a bear, it won't necessarily just be a bear. It may be more like owlbear style, like basically an entirely different creature that you can still connotate to its original inspiration, if that makes sense.
I get you. Like in this case, like an ice wolf bear combo, you know?
Yes. So little backstory here. I was funding the development of a game at some point, which was unfortunately forced to be cancelled mostly because of funding issues due to job changes on my end. But basically in one of the areas, what was planned to have in like an icy kind of mountain area was a bit of a polar wolfy bear kind of creature. So it's like the size and strength of the bear, but the agility and the ferocity of like a wolf, if that makes sense.
Sounds
Yeah.
terrifying to come across.
Yeah, and even with like plants and minerals and shit, since we're gonna have like apothecaries and alchemists and druidcraft and all that kind of shit in this world too, basically all of these plants are going to be designed in such a way to have purpose. Everything is going to have purpose, everything is going to have meaning. And so basically if you find like these frozen white berries somewhere, you're going to be able to use them to create some kind of frost potion, maybe some kind of frost resistance, or maybe it will give a frost tinge to a weapon if you coat it on a blade, for example.
Oh, I love it. I feel like that's something, and I'm sure there's systems in D&D for that, but it's just never utilized too much, nor explained all that well.
The problem with D&D is you have all of these different things, like whether it be poison or another poison or another poison or another poison, there's all these different types of different things which basically just do the same thing. But so rather than like fucking about with like the different shades of poison, there will be like different poisons, for example, but the poisons will do different things. Like there might be one that like strictly deals damage in terms of the TTRPG game system. There will also be others that apply more debilitating effects.
Yeah, paralysis or a hallucinogen, you know?
Correct. And there's basically... yeah, there might be specialty ones that can only be found and made in the Eastern continent with those ingredients that can't be obtained at the Northern continent, for example.
Exactly, and that can like be a system of trade between the nations.
Yes, and that's gonna also be like a basis for class restriction, if that makes sense, because the class system itself is going to be a whole other giant conversation at some point to have. But basically, how your character develops and grows will be dependent on the region you start in. So if you want to be a gunslinger, you kind of have to start out in the gunslinger area. You can't just be in the east and be a gunslinger over there automatically. It's basically to try to help bring a sense of immersion to the environment you're exploring. Because I know there are plenty of people out there who want to be XXX Darkslayer, Big Blade, Uwu the Third.
Right.
The darkest and greatest, the darkest and greatest paladin of all time who will smite the righteous foes who slander his god. But what if you're like in an area that doesn't even have gods, for instance? Would a god even have power there in the first place?
I love it. Yes. Because then it becomes like proselytizing at that point. For if you want to bring that character over, you have to actively convince others to believe in your dude.
For sure. But there are going to be a lot of like questions like that we're going to have to answer along the way, if that makes sense. Especially if we end up doing some kind of isekai feature between worlds, like would future modern tech work in this primeval magic-filled world, or would magic work in these future scientific worlds, for instance?
That's a good point. Yeah, you have a fat-ass wizard that's awesome, but then he goes to, modern land and
his
none of that shit has any hold. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is we're not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel as it is, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, we're still going to have wheels. Like, you can't recreate a shape with another shape that doesn't exist, because that's not how shapes work, for instance. But a lot of like fantastical elements, elves, orcs, etc., as I mentioned before, those will be kind of reused and repurposed with our own little spin on them. Same with like some special minerals like silver and orichalcum and mithril. So in this world, silver is going to be like probably more Witcher style. It can be used to harm transparent or translucent spiritual beings with a blade, whereas you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Rather than just like using the same sword and shield in D&D where you can hit anything with anything and it either does damage or it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's more specialized, and like The Witcher, a lot of people are going to need to carry around some sort of backup to handle stuff like that if they, are even aware.
For sure. And there's going to be a similar set of mind for like the enchanting system, for example. So there's going to be magic itself. You can't just say, oh, I want this blade to be fire, and magically come up with a way to make it into a fire blade. There's going to be a systematic set of rules and restrictions in terms of how all of these things work and how you can apply them, and when, basically, if that makes sense. So,
Speaking
For
of,
sure.
yes.
Speaking of magic swords and mithril and stuff, I had the thought, I meant to write it down, but I was thinking that it would be pretty cool if, like, the thing that made mithril cool was that it was really good at conducting elemental energy, so like any kind of fire sword or something.
That is kind of the idea. So basically, how I want mithril to work is I feel like it's fitting for mithril being the kind of legendary metal it's meant to be be the only real metal capable of withstanding the engraving of magic runes. So for example, there's a kind of class I have in mind which kind of engraves or speaks runic languages, like the language of giants and dragons, and those words have meaning, and when you basically say those words, it produces the corresponding effect, and if you have the rune engraved on equipment, for example, that effect will manifest itself on the material. But if you're using like ordinary bronze or iron, for instance, those aren't really going to be able to withstand those kind of magical forces, if that makes sense. Whereas mithril will be specialized and designed primarily to be able to trigger and maintain those kinds of effects without kind of any wear or tear to the equipment.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
Which,
I just thought of an interesting way you could use the negative as a positive. You have like copper throwing knives and
yes.
etch like a fire rune into it and throw it at
Exactly.
people so it like melts when it hits them, you know?
Yeah, or like shatters and bursts into bristles. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, anything
So-
like that for sure.
It's
You could also go
basically
into, like,
yeah. So the system is basically going to be designed in such a way that even old stuff is still going to be useful. It's not necessarily going to be directly replaced by a newer and better thing. So yeah, iron, bronze, whatever, they'll only be able to maintain those effects temporarily and be treated as consumable basically if you try to use them on them. Whereas mithril will be like a permanent effect. And then if you have another material like adamantine, for example, it might not be able to maintain or even trigger the effects at all. They could be an anti-magic weapon specifically, so magic doesn't work to conduct through them. But if you connect with magic with it, it can cancel it out, maybe.
Like Magneto's helmet. You can block mind control with something like that or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. But basically, there are going to be different systems of magic, essentially. So you'll have like faith-based powers, you'll have arcane powers, maybe. You can contract with elementals, use elemental powers, things like that. So magic itself is something I love the kind of idea I have in mind for magic in this kind of worldview. So basically, you guys know the systems of physics like thermodynamics and motion, kinematics, whatever, and all those kind of rules.
For sure.
I hear physics. Yes, I do.
So magic is basically the ability to manipulate physics. So you can increase temperature, or you can decrease temperature. You can influence the state of motion, or you can influence space-time gravity, etc., etc., or electromagnetism, for example. So they're going to be very, very powerful influences over the corporeal realm around you. But with that said, it's going to be very specialized as well. So basically, how the classes will work is you'll gain access to this particular type of power, but you won't have like different spells and shit you can do with it. You literally just have electromagnetism, so you can literally do whatever comes to mind with your imagination to be as creative as you can get, because at the end of the day, that's where TTRPGs shine. The creative aspect of them that allows you to do whatever you want with them. And the problem with D&D is there's so many rules and restrictions that you take away the player's agency, freedom, and creativity, which is honestly the worst possible thing you could actually be doing with it.
For sure. In an imagination-based game, you know? I really like your magic system in certain occult practices, like in real world. Magic, spelled Magick, has a very specific definition, and that is, magic is the art and science of change through will.
Yes.
And that's
an apt way to kind of put it as well, for sure.
Because then, of course, like you were saying, you break it down by specifics, and a thermodynamic wizard is good at manipulating the, temperature and climate around him. You could have a gravity wizard or whatever.
Yeah, and so with thermodynamics, for example, you're not just limited to hot or cold. Like, you can reduce heat of enough intensity to light things aflame, or decrease things to such a cool that it freezes over, things like that. So you're not necessarily influencing fire or ice, you're manipulating temperature itself. And that can have
Dude, if you get good enough, you can like rub the air molecules together and create lightning.
Yeah, something like that. So it's basically going to be, if it is theoretically possible via the application, then it'll manifest an effect according to what the DM decides, basically. So yeah, it gives the more creative agency to the players, the DM, to make more compelling stories with.
Oh, show.
Alright, well, with that said, back to the Northern Continent, we're going to get sidetracked a lot as we kind of continue expanding and building on this. But as mentioned, we'll have the Norse mythos, which has essentially the 9 realms. So we have Alfheim, Midgard, Asgard. Let me just...
Helheim.
Yeah.
All them places.
Helheim.
Hell yeah.
Savat, Alfheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, and whatever the other 2 are.
Them places.
So
I
there
can't
is,
move it.
I know one of them's the Vinea gods or the Asir gods or whatever the other ones are. I'm trying to remember what the other ones are. So we've got Helheim, we've got Niflheim and Muspelheim. We've got Jotunheim. And it's
Jotunheim,
just,
yeah.
yeah. Realm of the Vinea. What is that called?
That's Giant Land.
Yeah. Ice
Yes,
giant?
it is. Vanaheim, that's it. Yes. Cool.
Don't forget Valheim. That's not real.
Wow. Wow. But yeah, so basically the different realms themselves, I haven't fully fleshed out how exactly I want to incorporate them into the Northern Continent, or whether they will all be physically part of the Northern Continent, if that makes sense. Because basically how it works in the theorized stories or folklore or whatever you want to call it is the 9 realms are all part of the World Tree Yggdrasil and on different parts of the tree. But since that's basically 9 different planets in that sense, kind of need to repurpose it a little bit. So Midgard for sure is going to be the main kind of inspiration for how the bulk of the stuff is going to work in terms of the Northern Continent's layout, but it's more so the realms like Asgard, like the realm of the gods. I'm not really as sure of how to incorporate, because basically, even though there's going to be like the main physical planet of this world, which we're calling Maldoniya, there is also going to be other planes or other realms, if that makes sense. Like the elemental world of fire, which is basically, you know, the Fury plane, the Firelands, whatever the fuck you want to call it, off on its own little thing elsewhere. Basically, that won't be part of the physical world, but there'll be like it'll be like a world laid over our world in tandem, if that makes sense. So you've got the elemental world, maybe the world of the gods, but in that case, with all the different factions and pantheons out there, will there be different kind of worlds for different gods? Will all the gods have their own little like one world, etc., etc.?
So here's a spitball for the Northern Continent and how to kind of connect things.
Yes.
Yggdrasil itself was always just like a ginormous ass tree. So what if a lot of like the smaller mountains and stuff, what if basically the entire Northern Continent is itself Yggdrasil, and like the smaller continents leading up to the base of the tree are like actually big enough to be mountains on their own, and just create like a whole mountainous place, And you can
Oh, and
even
like,
say that like Yggdrasil is so big, it just kind of goes up, and you can't even get up there, like as a
You
Hume.
could also have it so like the root system goes down, and that's how there's like an underwater ecosystem that you can work with and stuff.
Yeah, because I'm kind of imagining, based on what you're saying, like a series of layered plateaus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of all around the tree itself, because the tree's like big enough that if you probably zoomed out on the planet, you could see it.
Each on a like different branch or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting
And at the very,
concept.
very top, it's almost ethereal at that point. You literally, like, even if you got there physically, it would just be the top of the tree. But there's, like, shrines and stuff, and if you are, like, worthy or whatever the shit, you can pass through and get into fucking Asgard in particular.
That is
Go through the Rainbow Bridge.
The Bifrost, yeah. Though that is interesting for sure, because it definitely like helps set it apart from the rest of the world as well. And since it is going to be like a game style inspired world or setting or premise or whatever, it does kind of make sense to have a series of layered plateaus from the base to the top where these different realms are, especially because that basically gives a sense of like progression. Because I think I mentioned, I've mentioned before. I basically went like nine worlds well, not 9 worlds, but 9 levels for like 9 series of like progressive adventures for characters of whatever level. And basically, they'll be like bigger, harder, more dangerous each and every step of the way. So it kind of fits the 9-9 aesthetic with that as well. I was just thinking though, I've kind of lost my train of thought of the thing I wanted to mention, but there was this one kind of web novel I read quite a whiles back. I don't remember what it's called at this point, but there was this protagonist who essentially regressed. He had to like explore through these worlds for whatever reason, and one of the worlds he went to was a Norse-inspired realm as well. And basically, what they had was the World Tree, which was basically in a similar premise for that. There was no real land; it was just the tree itself. So they had the root system, they had the trunk, they had the branches and canopy, and each and every step of the way throughout the different parts of the trees, there were like different threats, different adventures and whatnot going on. For example, some of the roots that kind of fell into the tree, there were like fish eating and gnawing at the roots from the water, and underneath the roots on what little land there were like I forget exactly, some kind of worm, like a Jomonger or something, eating the roots of the land side as well. Then as you kind of get up the tree, there's also like a canopy filled with like dangerous wasps and bees, etc, etc. And they were, while it didn't represent the 9 realms themselves, like the tree itself was just so big that it could literally fit all these other different kind of major aspects of it within it. So I kind of do like that.
Hell yeah.
Alrighty. Bear with me a moment here.
Gotta watch out for them drop bears, man. It's chlamydia. I figured it out. Koalas have chlamydia.
Yes. No, I am aware. They are famous. They are famous for having it. But yeah, so before we get to the actual design of the continent further, what I'll kind of do is just bring up some individual things for maybe what's going to be in each of the worlds themselves. So we'll have Alfheim, Midgard, Asgard.
Alfheim is giving me a SAO flashbacks.
Oh no. The worst kind of flashbacks.
For real. The isekai game genre is so dirty.
Yeah. Honestly, oh, I've actually accidentally doubled up. But yeah, no, I really loved, Aincrad as a concept, but by golly, I hate the execution.
Agreed.
Yeah, a lot of specifically in isekai, it's been overplayed a lot, and it's always the like same ass plot.
For sure.
It can be a lot more fun.
Yeah, isekai as a concept I really love, but I just don't like how anyone does it.
Yeah,
For real.
I love world building more than the actual plots they come up with, because I'm more fascinated by the worlds that they find themselves in, rather than the story that they're telling in these worlds, which is, again, why I'm doing this little world building project here. Well, I call it little, but it's not going to be little. Because yeah, like with like, for example, like Harry Potter, like rather than the story of Harry and Voldemort, I am more interested in a regular ass fucking school student learning magic over 7 years. And watching him like
being a
experience
rando
life,
wizard,
get girlfriends and shit like that, like a Persona style social system.
Yeah, but in Hogwarts, that would be very cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
usually
what I
enjoy
was.
fanfiction more than the actual piece.
For sure.
I feel it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, because like with the Harry Potter remake series they're doing for HBO, like I would again be more interested in seeing a regular student rather than a retelling of Harry's story, because Harry's story has already been told. We don't need to hear it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been told twice now in the books and in the movies.
Yeah.
So,
and both of those were this century, so they're already doing it again.
right?
Right, give it a.
Jesus.
I think the problem is like there was so much good media for millennials growing up that it's just such a milk it market for studios to reproduce the shit we loved as children, because they know we want to see like high quality, better renderings and executions of those same things today, which is why it's literally nothing but sequels and remakes right now, basically. But I think as our generation gets more so into positions of power and development and direction for that kind of stuff, I feel we may begin seeing a kind of new wave of media within the coming decade or two.
Yes, please. There's so many other cool things they could do.
Yeah, and I for one would kind of like to be a part of that in whatever way I can. Because ideally,
I
like
can certainly feel it.
One day I want to do like my own like animated series or whatever, or something too. I think that would be cool. But in any case, yeah. So we are going to have all these different Norse realms, and we're gonna have a few different things in each of them. So, Alfheim, I'm sure you guys know, for example, is known to have elves. So the northern continent's going to have like its own subsect of elves as well.
Snow elves.
I gotta get out of here, so I'll check you guys later.
No worries. Bye, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Later.
Bye.
Simeon's going to be calling Vex Vexy now.
Oh my god.
Vexy. Vexy.
Hello, Vexy.
Still gonna call Beak Fluffy?
Oh yeah, the name that everybody got is going to be like the only name Simeon will know now.
Floofy.
No.
Except you butchered the pronunciation, so you're gonna have Floofy instead.
Fluffy. Yes, perfect. Yeah, exactly. Purple one.
Purple?
Yeah.
Porpoise. Okay,
Just
yeah.
shorten it to Popo.
Yeah. Alright, so we have the realm of the... Okay, so let's do this kind of one by one. So we have Alfheim, which is going to be strictly elves. Svartalfheim, which is going to be strictly elves and dwarves. And now, for the fantasy races like elves and dwarves and whatnot, similar to how humans have different cultures based on their geographic locations, like in real life, the elves are going to be elves and dwarves and fantasy races like that are going to be the same. So I have a few different ideas in mind for how I kind of want to do things where. For example, we'll probably have like some foresty kind of wood elves somewhere who are more like fit ranger types with the bow and arrow, classic ones. The more like dark elves who live in the tunnels underneath, that's going to be like the Svartalfheim elves. Like drow or shit like that. Dwarves are the ones I really love how I've kind of theory crafted. So dwarves aren't going to be beings of flesh. They're essentially going to be beings of stone who are sculpted and crafted from the earth by the deity that they believe in, the All-Father or the Forefather or whatever we're going to call him. And basically they don't procreate, they literally sculpt and carve themselves from the earth to create more of their people.
They can clone themselves in a way.
Yeah, basically.
Sort of, kinda. I'd imagine it's like a cultural thing to like make each dwarf different because it's cool that way. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
and the dwarves kind of create themselves with a role in mind because they basically come into the world as adults.
Yeah.
And since they also kind of create themselves in the All-Father's image, there are no female dwarves.
Ooh.
No bearded ladies.
No bearded ladies. So they kind of create themselves with a purpose in mind. So they might create some dwarves who look a bit bigger and stronger to be like fighters, and ones with like more dexterous and nimble features to be more craftsmen, for example. So that's
Rogue
kind of
dwarf.
that's how their culture is going to work as well. But there will be differences based on the environment they're brought up in, because, for example, the Svartalfheim dwarves, the northern continent being as frosty as it is, maybe they carve themselves from ice instead of stone. So you've got these ice dwarves, basically. And,
Good question.
Mhm.
Is it like one person sculpting a new being, or is it multiple people working on one?
Who knows? Maybe both.
It might be like a normal dude or a regular guy is like just a one guy job, but like a king or somebody important that they're remaking or making a new one of. It has to be like, it's like tech priests from 40k. Yeah.
No, I think that's kind of along the right assumption, I would say. Because basically, since they are a very patriarchal society, given that they are all men and they all kind of revere their forefather, revering their fathers is going to be a big thing in their culture. So I would say, like, individually as a standard, most dwarves would create their sons, so to speak, and the sons would revere their fathers and their fathers' fathers, etc., etc.
That
Would dwarves
makes a lot of sense.
Like, is it just one parent lineage, or is this like?
I would say so. Yeah, except in like, there might be a special case for like a royal line, if there is a royal line at all. If anything, I'd say a royal line would be the original descendant of the forefather, like the original creation in any given area, who makes the rest or something.
Yeah.
So like the Allfather made the first dwarf out of pure gold, and all of the head dwarf chiefs are always remade out of gold.
Something like that.
For sure, yeah. Spitball.
Kind of flesh out the specifics when we design dwarven cultures at a more specialized level, but that's just to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea.
For sure.
Okay. Then we have things like Asgard, so that's gods, Midgard, men, Helheim is going to be undead as well. So undead, there's probably going to be like a few different maybe systems or styles of underworld. as well, similar to like the afterlife or the godly realms or whatever. So I haven't fully fleshed out what we're gonna do there or how, especially the different cultures, different underworlds, whether it be the Norse one, the Egyptian one, or the Greek one, for instance. And that's another kind of reason why I was a bit half and half with how I kind of wanted to design the Nordic realm system. Because, like, with the undead, basically it's the spirit that goes to the afterlife, not the body. So in the realm of Helmheim, most of the undead there will be more spiritual enemies, theoretically. And if that is a physical... It makes more sense for that to not be, like, part of the physical realm. Because if it was the physical realm, it'd be more so like their bodies would physically go there too, but if that were the case, like, how would their bodies even get there, for example? But, yeah, just many of the things we're gonna fine-tune as we Furycraft along the way.
I really like your idea of layering things on, like, it would... I had this thought, it's almost like Silent Hill, right? Where, especially in the movie in particularly, like, dude was walking around the same school as Chicky, and they were, like, in the same places, but they couldn't see each other because she was in the bad part of the, like, dimensional reality. So, like, maybe there is technically a way to get to the empty spot that would be Helheim, but, like, if you haven't gone through, like, the River Styx, or, like, it's Charon, I think. Is it the River Styx? No, I think that's Roman.
River Styx is
regardless.
cool.
Yeah. Regardless. However they went about it specifically in terms of actively getting there, you have to do the thing. You die and vessely go there. Or maybe, you know, in the case of an adventuring party going to Helheim, there's, like, portals or something. The Super Mage makes you go on a acid trip to Deadland.
Speaking of that, like, I like the idea of the only way to be able to go to the realm of the dead is to die.
Yeah.
You could basically have a, if you die, you basically maybe get the chance of an afterlife adventure to try to escape from the underworld to return to your body.
Yeah. You just,
that
like...
reminds me of Elder Scrolls. Or was it Elder Scrolls? Oh, what was it? Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online. There was a quest.
Oh, yeah. There was.
I don't know about that, personally, because I haven't played it, but, I mean, feel free to share if you remember much about it.
It's been a while.
It was pretty much along the line of you were in, like, it was like Cold Harbor or something, which is basically...
areas, I want to say.
Yeah. It was breaking out. You're, like, in hell jail because Super Guy is stealing everybody's souls, and you are actually... You feel like you're your physical self, but you're playing as your soul. And then when you bust out, you, like, get a body again and are new again and all of that.
No, I like that. Because one of the big things I don't like is resurrection magic. Because if someone dies, you can just bring them back. There's a real consequence. And when you're dead, like with D&D, for example, you're basically just waiting for a party member to revive you, or you stay dead for good. But I think if you die, fate should be in your hands. It should be your job, your responsibility to claw your way back if you want to live. Whereas where I like that that idea of coming back from the dead, basically, through an underworld adventure.
And I think it's actually pretty interesting because when you die, it's where you are based on how the gods work here, on where you will be going. So, like, there will be different means of escaping from, like, the northern continent than the eastern continent.
Exactly.
What if there's... This is making me think of a campaign set in the this afterlife or underworld thing, where it's just a group of criminals trying to come back
break
to life.
out. Yeah.
That'd be cute.
You could even set it up as like a super one-shot where it's like an interconnected one-shot where you do one campaign per continent to try and break out, and each time you fail because it's like, the funny comedy relief. Of course, the bumbling criminals fuck up trying to come back to life, so they go to the other continents, underworld, and try there.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'd say how it works as a gameplay mechanic. If you die within any kind of nation's unique underworld, you get one shot to bust out from there. If you succeed, you come back. If you die again while there, then you're probably not going to get a second chance in that area. But if you died in another world's underworld, then yeah, for sure, you can have another experience or another chance.
For sure. It might just be different sets of criminals dying in each set of Underlife campaign, you know what I mean? To also allow for unique characters, or you can just do the thing where, I'm Squizgar the Third.
Just give each character a different crime and be like, okay, play based on this.
Yeah.
Like some of them can be compulsive liars.
So that's actually like a really good one
maniacs
too.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Let the player figure out why they died.
You could add some really serious, cool back shit into that, because it's like, oh damn, and they had like a mini redemption arc, not knowing who they were, and are like a different person. Yeah.
And no one else in the group knows that the other people are criminals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, one of them could have been murdered by one of the others, for all they know.
True.
Exactly. They could have killed each other.
Ooh. Damn, imagine killing someone at like a bar fight or something and then waking up with them in the underworld.
The weirdest enemies to lovers.
Ooh.
It's usually a tired trope, but doing it like that would be pretty cool, you know what I mean?
It would be.
Well, ironically, I'm wondering now if I should even start with the northern continent at all, just given the uniqueness of Yggdrasil, the World Tree, because I think it'll be better to start with a kind of regular landmass or a regular continent, or something I know for sure that I kind of just want to be standard earth, hills, trees, forest, lakes, whatever.
I can understand that.
That'll give more room to expand more creatively out further later on, if I kind of want to mix things up, if that makes sense.
For sure. Kind of get a practice run under the belt, because you really like the idea of Yggdrasil, but, you want to still be able to flesh out a bit more.
Sure, because there's definitely more that we can do with the northern continent in comparison to other places, just because of how that works. Which I think is good, because that's probably why I never really progressed much further than I did with the northern continent when I was kind of test practicing on my own, because like I know what I kind of loosely wanted the inspiration of the mythos to be, but I didn't know how I wanted to design the continent itself, which was always the big thing. So that's good to keep in mind. So the other candidates are going to be the central continent. So that'll be the Roman / Greek / medieval Europe one. The eastern continent, which is a lot of East Asia. The western continent, which I mentioned before. Then we'll have the southern continent. So yeah, there might be like some small outliers of like islands and archipelagos here and there spread out between them, but these are going to be like the 5 central core major landmasses. So I think
sure, you gotta have one island named Skull Island, one island named Candy Island, and one island named Treasure Island, or it's just not proper.
For sure. Well, I think in this case, the most appropriate place to start probably is going to be the central continent, because that's going to be like the most stereotypical, the most generic like fantasy archetype that you think of when you think high fantasy.
For
So I
sure,
think
long swords, knights in shining armor, dragon.
Correct. So I think that's definitely going to be the go-to, because we can do most of the ordinary foundation here. It'll allow for a lot more creative freedom with trying new and different things elsewhere later on. So, Central Continent inspirations, Ancient Greece, Ancient Rome, Medieval Europe.
How low fantasy do you want to be? Do you want to... Because you can have it kind of like neon and green and everything's kind of... all of the things are weird and animate, or you could have it kind of pretty standard, but then there's the odd... It's kind of more like Game of Thrones-y, where it's like... feels grittier and down to earth, but there's a dragon and weird ice people and shit.
That actually brings up an interesting point. So what I'm going to do is I have a list of world building references that I kind of put together in my own time. So I might bring some of these up now. And let's see. So I'm going to put on screen now a world and realm kind of reference, which I've kind of
on here
grabbed from online somewhere. So I'm not sure how visible this is going to be for you guys, but luckily we can zoom in. Cool.
I'm gonna need to mute that because I'm directly in the party, but yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
It's
cool.
a little blurry, but I can. Oh wait, no, there we go. Update it.
Well, I can read it out. So here we go. This is the Know Your Worlds thing, which I kind of just grabbed this off Reddit somewhere. So, sure,
God, yeah.
Image search it will be able to find something, but this is a fun little
cool.
reference sheet for world building and world designing. So, ideally, I would like to have some kind of inspiration for all of these at some point. So, you got the divine worlds where like everything's like paradise and everything's like perfect and good, and then Damnatory where everything is completely horrible and uninhabitable or whatever. So, and then there's like a good mix of the kind of middle stuff and everything in between. So I haven't overly thought about which one of these I kind of want to have where. But what I might do, let's bring that back out to here. It's a neat little inspiration.
Sure, yes.
Cool. So, let's see about drafting a little reference list for, even before we get to designing the individual kind of realms, as to what we might like to have and where. So, let's do this. So we are going to want to have a divine realm, which will probably be like a god world, sublime world, speckled world, valorous world, moral world, noble bright, grey, gilded, sinful, dystopian, grimdark, Eldritch world, uncongenial world, and a damnatory world. And it'll be this will be a good time to mention we're gonna have like our own like heaven and hell outside of the underworld as well, which is not necessarily a heaven and a hell, but rather the domain of angels and demons, who basically have their own plane separate from gods and mortals alike. So they aren't they aren't necessarily going to be a servant of gods or whatever. They're more so like their own race, their own culture of people with their own agendas.
Come and see. Big old fire circles.
For sure.
And the word demon technically means an interdimensional being. So, you know,
Yeah.
shit like that.
Yeah, so I'd say overall there might be some kind of godly world where all the gods are or something, which is probably going to be the divine realm, and then everything else is going to be below it. So I would say as a whole, a noble bright world is probably the most well-known or commonly used kind of world trope. Good and evil kind of everywhere, it's still apparent. Things kind of teeter on the balance between the two. Evil actions leave lasting scars, but good deeds do as well. So it's like a world of like heroes and legends and villains and shit like that.
For sure.
Let's see. A grey world would be pretty similar, and gilded would be...
I think you could like describe it as noble bright worlds or D&D. Gray worlds is Earth, like IRL, and gilded worlds could almost be like
Yeah.
cyberpunk.
Yeah, so I think overall what we're gonna do is say Maldoniya as a whole is a noble, bright world, but within the world itself, we're going to have different nations within each continent, essentially, which might be stylized in a bit of a different way. So
Sure, some can be a little more noir, while others are more D&D focused.
Yeah, because I kind of like a gilded world, for example. I like the idea of a somewhat like noble-centric culture, which is filled with a lot of corruption amid the higher ranks, if that makes sense. So
For sure, that's one of my favorite tropes.
I'm thinking
Clearly.
within the central continent, we have like the ancient Greece, the ancient Rome, and the kind of medieval Europe. So I'm thinking the medieval Europe, which is basically going to be like the nobles of old, the swords and shields, the armed forces, the commoners in poverty. That's kind of going to be that kind of area.
Perfect for that, for sure.
Corrupt nobles take advantage of uneducated lower class commoners.
I think the Western nations, however you're going to break that up, should be Eldritch worlds.
Okay, that is interesting. I want to hear your logic for that before I make any comments.
So, in both fronts, in like a real life scenario, you have two entirely different peoples coming in contact with each other. And of course, the biggest fear always being the fear of the unknown makes both hesitant to even trust each other. Then you can add the whole spooky, scary aspect of it all within the actual like land itself. We don't know what's out there. It's a whole big forest, jungle, desert. So like, you know.
Interesting. So, I love the idea. I love the logic. But what I haven't told you is there actually is going to be some kind of Eldritch race in this worldview. So, basically, I've read like a lot of different novels and stories and whatnot, and there's always like all these different factions and races with their own agendas that cause them to have strife against each other. But the one kind of story that I always love the most is when there is a single, larger, more dominating, pressing, all-consuming threat that overwhelms all of them, which forces them to kind of band together to fight it off. And that, in this worldview, is probably going to be the Eldritch monsters.
Word. Okay, yeah.
So basically, how I intend on utilizing Eldritch beings is they exist beyond or between space and time. So they aren't necessarily anywhere, but at the same time they're also everywhere all at once. So think maybe like the Upside Down in Stranger Things. That was basically a parallel to our world with a bunch of like hideous monstrous creatures trying to break through.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier how one of the magic systems might influence space-time. So, with that example, with like utilizing space and time, one of the things you can obviously do with it is transport yourself or something else through space and time. And basically, what's going to happen as you do that, as you pass through space and time, it'll be like entering the Nether in Minecraft. Like you go through this other dimension to get to where you want to be, and you cover like 10 blocks in the Nether, and all of a sudden you've traversed 100 blocks in the overworld, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's going to be what it's like, traversing through this other realm through space-time, but that is going to be the realm that these Eldritch creatures inhabit, and what they do is they try to prey on anyone or anything that kind of comes into their realm, if that makes sense.
That's kind of how you can justify, like, warlocks, basically. They're basically time wizards that fucked up.
Maybe. I mean, there's going to be, like...
one way or another, you know?
I mean, there's also going to be, like, devils and great demons and shit, which is mostly going to be where a lot of the warlocky stuff kind of comes more into play. They're basically going to be the opposite of clerics, more so. They get their powers from demons instead of gods. But yeah. No, so that's going to be the thing, and they basically try to break through space-time, and I briefly mentioned earlier how there's like going to be the future super future world, which is like outer space and shit. Basically, what a lot of that is going to be is, apart from maybe some intergalactic whatever shit, they're also going to be like the primary force fighting off these creatures who are like breaking through space and time to get at them. But eventually, they're gonna like break through the cracks that kind of begin to appear as more powerful space-time benders appear, and they'll begin like a full-scale invasion at some stage maybe of the world itself, and then all of the different kind of tribes and people or whatever that kind of fight each other off together. They band together to fight off these Eldritch beings together.
It's Enterprise, or the Federation. Yeah.
So, no matter who they are, no matter who they're dealing with, there is like a universal understanding and agreement regardless of your language or culture. If you see the fucking Eldritch shit appear, you stop fighting with each other and you take care of it first.
I need to watch a video about dimensions.
But yeah. So, ironically enough, I would say that realm between worlds that the Eldritch beings inhabit, I'm not sure if we would treat that as an Eldritch world or more as a damnatory realm, to be honest.
Yeah, I think specifically the ones they inhabit would be a damnatory world.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the movie Event Horizon?
Is that the Tom Cruise one?
No, that's Mission Impossible, or whatever.
No,
He's been in a bunch. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's another one I'm thinking of. But go on.
It's about a ship that jumped and they tried to do warp, but warp fucked up, and then they found the boat again, the ship, the spaceship, and it was all hell, weird, flesh goo, eldritch horror, bad shit. Because that was, it's basically how you're describing teleportation on that kind of front. They did that more scientifically, but it still ended up being, you know, eldritch horror, you know, all the people turned into goo that, like, grew on the walls type shit. I'm having the thoughts with the space monsters in particular, and I need to watch this video about imagining the different levels of dimensions. But we are third dimensional beings, right? Right above us, if you were to look at a third dimensional being in the fourth dimension, you would see like a big old worm thing that is all of the frames of time in our life interconnected. So it would look real weird. You would see, you know, the baby all the way to the grave, and it would be one cohesive thing. So I'm thinking,
you can see it as like a fluid motion, yeah.
I'm thinking that these that there's creatures beyond this, and I want to get the dimension correct, because at some point you start analyzing entire timelines and big bangs and different styles of universe creations. So I want to get the dimension correct, but these creatures, these eldritch creatures, could be like an eighth dimensional being that is
That's the intention. They're like fourth dimensional beings. Like they exist everywhere around us, like all seeing. Like they see us, they follow us, they could touch us, but we can't see, feel, or interact with them as they kind of do so, unless that dimension is kind of broken and shattered. And the way I envision it is like a world of like black and white and grey. There's no color or anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I'm gonna send you this video that you should watch at some point. It's just this dimensional explanation thing, but it's right up that alley. You would like it.
For sure. No, I'll definitely check it out at some point for certain. But yeah, no. So that's kind of the Eldritch stuff we have in mind there.
Yeah, let me look back. So we've decided on the middle section being...
Yeah, I mean there could be like more than one nation or culture per world, because we might end up having more than what's on this list, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 worlds or realms, and I'm fairly certain we're definitely going to have more cultures than that, if that makes sense.
For sure, you could have one sect in the central realm that's very grimdark about their situation, and just like, you know, almost like a suicide cult, but like holy. Well, you know what I mean?
I think grimdark is probably going to be the abyss where demons reside, basically.
That makes sense. Very rip and tear.
Yeah. And then, on the other hand, dystopian world, something's very wrong, be it prior cataclysm, a tyrannical government, or crippling war, the world is not a pleasant place to live. Yeah, I'll leave that for now. I think, so basically I'm planning on like two kind of versions of this. So there's going to be the abyss where demons reside, as well as the circles of hell where devils reside. And there will be a pretty big difference between demons and devils. So devils are the more sophisticated, cunning, political intrigue deal makers, whereas the demons are all about like power. If that makes sense.
Blood for the blood god.
Yeah. So basically the demons all fight amongst themselves to try to be the strongest to rule over all the others of their kind, whereas the devils have more tactic agreements and understandings of themselves, and they basically make deals with humanoids to perform actions in exchange for their souls and shit like that, I guess.
For sure. Warlocks. Well, really, everybody
yes,
can kind of...
I think, yeah, I'm not fully sure how we want to do the warlock vibe, because like in terms of warlock contracts, like it makes sense to make a contract with a devil in this case, but I think it also kind of makes more sense to have the powers of demons for how I want to execute them, basically. But basically the thing I have in mind is for like the hells to be like the 7 circles or the 9 circles of hell or whatever, with the demon princes of the 7 sins, shit like that. Whereas the abyss,
yeah, Lucifer Asmodeus.
yeah. Whereas the abyss, I'm also thinking of Solomon's great demons and having like 66 or however many it is realms of the abyss where these great demons reside, and they all have their own domain, and they all basically have a race of their own unique demonic creature, if that makes sense.
Ooh, yeah, an Asmodean, if you will.
Yes.
Well, that's back in the circles, not the abyss.
The problem is I haven't really thought as much about how or what devils will be. Because I know I want them to represent these emotions and these sins, and to basically be a countenance to the archangels. But yeah, I don't fully know how I want them to appear, because one of the great devils, or the devil princes, is technically Leviathan, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think you guys know what Leviathan is and what Leviathan represents.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to be put off to a lot later, but yeah, on the countenance there's going to be the archangels and the angels, and I think rather than being separate like the devils and the demons, I think they'll be together in like one kind of central together world, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So they would probably
I was thinking it would be kind of hierarchical.
Yeah. So basically the hierarchy of the angels will be based on the number of wings they have, or whatever.
Ooh, I like that. Are you gonna have like humanoid angelic beings with multiple wings on them, or are you gonna have kind of like Devilman Crybaby style dude, or are you gonna do like
Probably
the
like,
rings of fire angels too?
Probably like humans with angel wings, more than likely. But let me see.
You should totally throw in at least a couple, because it's basically like the antithesis of a beholder.
Yeah, because I kind of imagine the angelic realm to potentially be kind of corrupt as well. Not in the same sense of like human corruption, but more so they're so focused on their own ideals that they kind of smite anything that doesn't live up to those ideals. So it's like justice.
You ever watch Supernatural?
Bits of it, yeah.
It's they kind of do that number in it. It's, yeah.
So ironically, I think let me see. A gilded world might be fitting for it, ironically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna have the gilded be a angelic, celestial realm of angels and archangels. We'll kind of design it around with that in mind. I think some of the more good ones, like the Sublime or Speckled or Valorous or whatever, some of those might be fitting for these separate variations of the Norse realms, like with the Vanaheim or whatever. It's like a super peaceful place where people just like chill or whatever.
I bet you in a lot of places you could probably, like in the western spot, there could be like Oasis, which is like a cool little spot in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Alright, well I think that's it could be fun to go over that more later, but I think I've kind of got a good idea for the where we kind of want to start here. So, the central continent, as noted, will be like have the medieval Europe, and I'm thinking that'll be mostly, let me see, UK slash France. Inspiration.
Yeah.
Because we both know how much the French and the Brits love each other.
For sure.
Because I think that can lead to
Probably
some
just as much
interesting
as
stuff.
the Irish in the UK.
Yeah, for sure. And they've all been such best friends for so long. I'm glad they get along so well together.
So well.
Speaking of a descendant of fucking British colonialism, but
Right. I mean,
what I'm thinking is, while it will be like mostly the high medieval for the most part, I also want to have a bit of Victorian London, which connects to the steampunk kind of aesthetic. And that could be like, that can be where the pirates and shit came from. So similar to the old Britons who went over to the US of A and did their own thing over there.
exactly.
So they came from like here maybe and went off to the pirate archipelago where they're doing all that other spontaneous shit over there because they didn't want to pay taxes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good, and that adds a lot of interesting interplay in terms of religion, because you have both Greco-Roman and the Enlightenment era happening within Victoria or Victorian
Yeah.
London.
I also love the Celtic kind of legends, or Celtic, or however the fuck you want to pronounce it.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
want
we
to
say Celtics, but
yeah. So I do want to incorporate those as well a bit, if I can. Maybe a bit of German as well. Maybe like a more industrialized,
lore.
more industrialized nation up there.
Godiva.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have like the British area be the steampunky London, the French area be the corrupt nobles,
Hell yeah.
German area industrialized, modernized, maybe a more militant nation. No, no historical inspiration.
Yeah, not at all.
And the Celtics can be...
That can be where a lot more of the actual medieval like sword play and stuff is from.
that might be more of the French kind of area, more so.
Ooh, true.
Because I think the Celtics are a more free people. But I want to bring in a lot of the Celtic mythos, so I'll just do that for now. So the Greeks will be mostly their mythos, and then some kind of Roman militants, Spartan might, and that kind of shit there.
For sure. You could have the Greeks be a part of the like governmental proceedings of not only the central area but low-key everywhere because they're in the middle. And then the Celtics could be the like druids, the wizards of the area. They may not be specifically that, but the ones that are connected to the magic.
Maybe. I imagine them having their own like identity and culture. Maybe a little island off the mainland, similar to how Ireland Island.
That would be real respectable and cool.
Rara says in chat, with the Abyss you could have like 666 layers and then 66 archdemons who are in control of like 11 layers apiece, and that could be a pretty nifty thing. Yeah, that's kind of similar to I'm just kind of building on Rara, so there'll be like a great demon ruling over its own layer. I've actually gone a bit in depth into the Solomon's Demons in terms of like research before, and I had a few fun ideas in mind, because basically the information on them themselves is a bit limited. but there is enough there to kind of like build what you will that you desire with what's there. So the 72nd demon, I believe it was, or the 74th, one or the other, basically represented like thievery and snakes and shit. So basically the idea was to have like a bunch of naga and serpents and like snake kind of enemies. And basically it would serve as like the layer of the abyss that connects to the material world, which is like the first place that all of the adventurers like go into to try to raid the demons or whatever. And they end up getting like all dying and having their loot stolen basically to fuel the abyss armies, if that makes sense.
For sure, for sure.
But
I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. Give me half a sec.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Go for it. In the meantime, let me see. So I might do a little bit of a Russia inspo as well. So cold northern front, reclusive, muskets and shit. Let me look up a map of Europe real quick. I wouldn't mind some kind of Turkish/Ottoman Empire inspo. I also want Babylon somewhere, along with Arabia, but I'm not sure if that's going to be central or not. But yeah, we might have our own little bit of a Mediterranean. See, I can definitely spell Mediterranean. Let me see. M-E-D-I-T. There we go. And we also have like the other seas near it. So we've got like the Black Sea, Dead Sea. Yeah, I'm not sure how far east we want to go, because the way that Asia and Europe are in real life, it's like we got that like awkward halfway point with the Gulf nations of the Middle East or whatever before we get into like the bulk of Asia too. It's the same with the African regions, the south. We've also got like Spain and Portugal and all that other stuff. It's a matter of what I want where. So I definitely want the north, like the Scandinavian, to be separate from the rest of it. And basically, since that's going to be its own specialized thing, I don't want it kind of any Russian influence there, despite Russia being so close to it. That's because I think the central continent being the largest with the most diverse range of influences and whatnot is going to be more fitting. Let me see.
I am back now, and I can agree with that. I I at least heard the last part.
Yeah. So, so we'll have some kind of Russian influence too, maybe more like a cold, reclusive, northern kind of nation. And I'm wondering what we could do with a kind of Spaniard inspired nation as well. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, that
or
could be a lot of the
suggestions?
people kind of influencing the pirate system. Kind of going over there. They could be like a coastal thing. Oh yeah, what you got? What you got?
Templars and Inquisitioners.
Beautiful. Yes.
'Cause
Exactly.
I'd say the pirates will more so be all of these steampunky guys from out in Britain, given the historical influence of their navy or whatever. I know the Spaniards did a lot of like exploratory work of that nature as well, but I think the Spanish Inquisition is too much of a too good of a meme.
Nobody
Okay.
expects it, man.
Yeah. So, what could we do with a Turkish/Ottoman inspired area?
Ooh, that's a good one. You don't want to make it like anything bad, you know?
Yeah, I wonder like a Babylon/Arabian area somewhere. I was kind of I was saying while you were away, I was a bit unsure of where to put like a lot of Middle Eastern kind of Gulf inspos, just because of its awkward position between Africa and Europe and Asia. But I'm thinking I really
I
want.
think here's not a bad spot.
Yeah, I if I'm unsure where to put it, I think I just want to put it in the center, because the center of continent is just going to be the big mash of everything. So I think Babylon, I really want to be like a large trade city/empire. It kind of connects.
That's actually what I was going to say for Arabia too, like a bazaar.
Yeah, and I kind of want to connect it to connect like the Africa, the Europe, the Asia as like the central kind of trade point between the three.
For sure, for sure. Just like how the Greek side could be the kind of governmental, the UN, everybody meets in the Senate together.
Yeah. So,
everybody goes and trades in the central area too.
Yeah, what I might do is I might bring up my little friend ChatGPT, and I will see what they say about what the Ottoman Empire was known for.
That's a smart one.
And that might give us some ideas for what to do with them. While that's chugging away, I don't necessarily know if we need any kind of Arabian sector outside of like Babylon, because we can kind of like do that as a big kind of central thing for them, maybe.
Yeah, especially if we take into consideration like ancient Persia and stuff like that. You can get a lot of the real deep ancient Middle Eastern knowledge.
Yeah, so definitely
there's a couple of people I'll talk to that are from around there or have family that are around there and kind of understand the religion a bit more. I've taken a peek at the Quran.
Oh, but, well, my best, my closest female friend is actually Muslim, and she's a pretty faithful practitioner of the arts, so I can literally hit her up anytime, because we pretty much chat every day. But
yeah, that's a good resource to try and pull too, for sure.
But yeah, she's actually traveling through Rome and Venice right now, so let me think. So let's see. The Ottoman Empire spanned 3 continents: Europe, Asia, Africa. Military prowess and expansion. Yeah, maybe we can make them a bit of a different kind of stylized militant nation as well, because they're more like siege militants.
Yeah. Yeah, the central area is kind of seeming like a good hotbed for innovation. So like each of these different sectors can be really good at that kind of thing.
They're definitely going to be the most technologically advanced, which is again why the steampunk is going to be there, because steampunk tech's probably going to be the most advanced tech there is. I'm also going to want to have some kind of... Okay, so let me bring up a thing here. So we're going to have a magic nation, a political nation, religious nation, and knight nation. So the knights will probably be like France. Well, actually, that's kind of what I want. Okay, so the religious nation will be the Spaniard nation with the Templars and shit. The political nation, probably France. The magic nation, I'm not sure. So the knight nation, we could do. So well, when you think knight, you got to think the fucking Brits, to be honest. But yeah, because we can have the base of the Brits be maybe a bit separate from the offshoot that kind of went off with the steampunks, maybe.
For sure. You can have Corningham, and then you can have London.
For sure. Because I want some kind of like magic tower wizard school somewhere as well, of course.
For sure, classic with the pointy hat and stuff. For sure.
Let's see. We could do the Ottoman Empire be the magic one.
Ooh, I like that. That's not bad at all.
Because they're going to be kind of central as well. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's some good ideas there. So they're gonna have like literally a bit of everything in them. Do we want any kind of Northern African basis here? Just given how centralized it's gonna be.
Yeah, that could also kind of be a bit of the justification for more offshoot toward the western side, because there's already people going over there. So maybe the Egyptian side kind of goes over there too. Or maybe they were even over there first.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking, because Egypt is like the big, ancient, northern African culture that kind of connects with Arabia, and they had their interactions with the Rome and ancient China and everything else. The thing is though, so basically there's going to be like 3 really big like religious pantheon / systems, which will be like the Norse one, the Egyptian one, the Greek one, and I was unsure whether I wanted like 2 of the big 3, the Egyptian and Greek, to be that close to each other, but maybe it's because they are too big of the 3 that they should be close to each other.
Yeah, especially with this being kind of like the low-key main continent, even though it's not at all, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So regardless of whether there's like the main like African nation of Egypt itself or whatever, there at the very least, they can have some kind of basis there in some capacity. Just like having that major hotspot of everything will just really lead to so much like storytelling and culture and conflict and everything else. But honestly, I think that's a pretty good amount that covers a lot of bases. I would like some kind of maybe desert nation of like the Dune desert guys, maybe somewhere.
The Bremen, yeah.
Yeah. But I want them to like play a different or separate role in comparison to like the trade of Babylon or the Egyptians or the Ottoman Empire. So
They could very well do the same thing they do in that and be the rebel group that fights everybody or hides until Lisan al-Gaib.
yeah, the thing is though, like I don't know like any particular culture I would want to base that inspiration off, because I'm not that I'm sure there wouldn't be ones, but I think it could be controversial to base it too much on one kind of culture for that one. I'm not sure, but
Well, that's the thing. It's already pretty Arabic centric, so we were kind of struggling with what to do with them.
yeah, maybe.
Oh, but that is kind of making them the rebels does kind of look bad. But at the same time, 'cause with the well, you would have like British Victorian people coming in and helping them out, and they would be leaving and going because, like, you know, people move
Helping?
and do things.
I'm sure the British people see it as helping, but
Not like that. Some of them would become rebels themselves.
maybe, oh yeah, no, they'll have the foreign white boy there to lead them and save them. The story of Jesus.
No, no.
Yeah, careful with those words, buddy.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they're dangerous.
yeah. Alright, well, no, I think that's a nice little hot pot. Because theoretically we could do some Asia as well, but Asia's so unique, and the Far East is so far away from everything else that I think it's good to leave it kind of separate there.
For
but
sure,
yeah,
they
no.
could maybe send like envoys to do trade and shit, but like otherwise
Yeah.
they're at home.
Yeah, so I'll say the central connects like more closely to the west than anywhere else. So it'll be further away from the northeast and south.
Word, that makes sense.
That makes the most sense geographically for storytelling purposes. Okay. South, north, and east continents. Cool. So in that case, one of the worst possible things to do with world building is to start mapping things out to begin with. But I think rather than like placing things on a map, it'll be good to kind of identify who we want to border with who, if that makes sense.
I can get that. It may not be like an actual physical map, but at least kind of know who's next to who and where.
Yeah, so I think it kind of makes sense to have the Brits, French, German, and Celts near each other. Then we can have the Greeks and Romans near each other. Russians can be off on their own. Then the Desert Nation, Egypt, Babylon, Ottomans can be together. So that leaves the Spaniards. I guess they would probably be closer to the first grouping. If that
Agreed.
makes sense. So we can have Russia in the north. These guys will definitely have to be kind of Western. I think the Greeks and Romans makes sense to have kind of... let me see. Maybe these guys will be centralized. And the desert nations can be towards the south/east. Yeah, so the Russians will be like all on their own in the north, as they've always have been, always will be. The Greeks and Romans then kind of the center, and maybe they kind of like connect to the waters in the south, and then maybe there's some kind of like mountain ranges that separate them from the west, where a lot of the more traditional kind of Renaissance area kind of Europeans are a bit more. then all the desert guys further to the east. Like I'm imagining like an upside down crescent moon shaped landmass right now in terms of that.
I see what you're seeing. Yeah.
But the big thing there will just be how like the Babylonian nation, if anything, connects to the rest with trade. Because I want them to be like the big central trade empire.
So they could be totally really close to the like point wherever in the crescent that is kind of
yeah, no, that might
closest
not
to
be
the Greeks.
that might not be a bad idea. So they can be on the right side's crescent, which will allow them to have like the naval capacity to like trade with the inner crescent where the Greeks and Romans will be. And since they can get around the mountains by sea around or by land around the back to the north, they can connect with the Russians if they need to, or the rest of the kind of desert empires around them, and then maybe yeah, the other crescent will, and leading up towards the western side will be the other ones, and they can kind of connect around there as well.
Yeah, two major cities on either tip of the crescent kind of thing.
Yeah, and that gives them major trade access to the east, so they can like receive the bulk of trade from the east, which allows them to connect that to everywhere else. And then maybe
Exactly.
I think I want the southern continent to be a bit more reclusive as well, similar to the northern continent, so they might not have as much interaction or trade with the other continents. And then the Babylonian Empire can get goods from the western continent through their trading with the western side of the central continent too. So
I think that works out beautifully.
Yeah, so that sounds like it'll work even if it isn't centralized, because just with like the navy in terms of like ships and whatnot, and like in terms of how all that works, it'll be harder for like the Greeks and Romans to get out from the inland where they are, which is why maybe then rather than being a major naval power, they're more so a major land-based power or something. But the sea
the Spartans.
The sea is very important to their cultures as well, so maybe there's like a series of like archipelagos or islands within the crescent itself, and maybe that can be like the Greek domain, then inland on the lip of the crescent is where the Romans are or something.
Yeah.
I kind of like that crescent idea with the islands in the middle. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So let me take a little note down for that. Continent is an upside down crescent. Greek islands within the crescent's bays. Cool. No, that sounds good to me. Alrighty. Let me think on this a little bit more. So, the idea is going to be to combine all these little notes into like one larger note with everything in it, or like a separate note for each of them, if that makes sense.
For sure, kind of condense all the information, put it where it needs to go, and whatnot.
Yeah. Let's see. How do we want to do that? Okay, so let's start that again. So continent is an upside down crescent shape. So we'll have the Brits. So we'll have a... I think the Brits will be like divided in two, as we mentioned earlier. So Victorian Brits will be the steampunky ones further off land to the west. And then the medieval Brits. I always forget how to spell medieval. Sometimes I do it right, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, I remember there being a game called Medieval that spells it wrong. So I think I always spell it wrong because of that.
That sounds annoying. Okay, so the Greeks will be a series of archipelago islands within the Moon's crescent. So they're going to be a very seafaring culture, and I'd say they're also going to be very faithful to the Greek mythos, essentially. So, seas, Mediterranean climate. Let's see. Via the Greek pantheon. And we're basically going to reinvent the gods and shit a bit as well. Kind of condense some down and whatnot, but we'll get to those when we get to those. Land-based nation on the crescents. Inlet, highly highly militarized Spartans. Advanced technologically. And they'll have like the Colosseum. Politics, and it'll be a bit of a land-based empire. So yeah, I'd say the Romans are like a very militant empire who kind of want to expand their borders, but are hampered by like the mountains to the north, which like lead to the colder lands of the Russian north on the other side. And they want to kind of get out by sea, but the fucking Greeks are blocking them, so they probably have a lot of conflict with them through that.
Yeah.
Blocked by mountain range to the north. Want to expand via sea, but blocked by Greeks. Leads to conflicts. Cool, and they probably deserts to the east demotivate them because they don't want to. They probably have like free reign to the east, but they don't really want to take over like desert lands. So they're probably more intent on heading west and south. So I'd say that will maybe they have some kind of way to expand west by land. If so, who do we want to border them? I'm thinking the Germans will border the Russians on the northern front, followed by the French, more to real life. So maybe it'll be the medieval Brits. In constant conflict with the medieval Brits to the west via land border. Cool.
Yeah, that lines up.
Yeah, and like who doesn't want to see knights in shining armor fighting fucking Spartans?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Okay, so the Russians. Oh. Cold northern land, separated by mountains from the rest of the continent. The western and eastern borders. German border to the west. Both, I'd say both of them probably have some form of like firearms technology. Powers very wary of each other. Not in open conflict, maybe a Cold War scenario. So there's maybe like a lot of espionage and spies and infiltration between them or something.
For sure. Mutually assured destruction between the two of them is probably a constant threat, so they're trying to dismantle each other, but secretly.
Yes. I'd say maybe these Spaniards can be the western southern crescent tip. We'll go back to them a bit later. Okay. Babylon, Persia is going to be the eastern southern crescent tip. I keep misspelling crescent somehow. I keep putting in an extra C. Eastern southern crescent tip. Trade empire. And then Inquisitors, Crusaders, Paladins for the Spaniards. So who would we want the Russians to connect with in the north to the east? Probably the... I'm thinking what we can do is have like the Ottoman Empire connect to the eastern end of the Roman Empire as well as maybe the Russians, and they can be like a large kind of dominant force up there. Connects to the eastern barren Russian border and the eastern Roman border. Conflicts mostly with the Romans. I'd say the Romans are probably going to be like the really big one who want to kind of dominate the continent and unite everything under their self-righteous glorious rule.
For sure.
And I'm just going to put a question mark with the Egypt and Arabia ones for now. So I think what we might be able to do is make the Turkish one a bit, the Ottoman one rather, a bit more in line with the, yeah, let's just get rid of Turkish and go Ottoman. And they can probably be a bit more in line with maybe the desert one I was thinking of a bit more than just like Arabia in general. And like they can be the Lords of the Sands. And Egypt... Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we don't physically have them present there because it already sounds like there's a lot of conflict going on.
Yeah.
And they don't really add anything more to the mix than what's already there. So they can be
And they do
somewhere
kind of
else.
fit better over in the west with the other desert stuff.
Yeah, so that can tie in a bit more there. But no, I think having like at least one big desert thing is fine here, and I think the Ottomans are good for that, along with a potential like Babylonian part.
Oh fuck, hell yeah! No, this has been absolutely amazing, but I want to go. I'm gonna go play some Elden Ring and then go to bed. I just ate.
That sounds good, because it is 12:30 here, and I should probably get some lunch myself. So that might work out to be a good time for us both.
Hell yeah. Thank you for having me, for sure. This has been awesome.
No worries. I might see about doing some more tomorrow. Whether you or anyone else wants to join or not is up to you, but I think I'll be chugging along in any case.
For sure. I'm usually off around the same time I hopped in today.
Yeah.
That is my 8 o'clock. And yeah, I usually don't do much, so yeah, I'll probably be in tomorrow.
Cool. Sounds good. I'll see you then, everybody.
Yeah, no, you have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Later.
And goodbye to all of any one of the friends I had on VC who had the stream open watching. Thank you, tata, bye bye for now.